Hello and welcome to Sim Strategy Gaming. I am Sim. This episode will be about the ninth scenario of Railway Empire 2. Ireland gains steam. Looking at tech, we find ourselves way back in the game in the 1840s. Just got access to these some nice techs here in the early 30s, and then moving on to this better locomotives here, using particularly the Jenny Lind, and then we also have access to the Iron Duke later on. Pointing out that the hotel tech might not be available to us in the beginning, and then we have to choose that here. These techs, the foreign workers and the hydraulic cranes, are also cheap and good techs that could be pointed out. The hotel would be needed here. Haven't quite gotten around to afford to buy it yet, but very soon we will have an hotel here. And then the line here now going around all of Ireland, actually, just a single line, but still important that it's connecting everything around, and that we have all the connection bonuses coming in. Our mission objectives this time, they will be not so hard perhaps, that we will fill all of the map from the very beginning, and then we are going to grow Ireland, particularly with emphasis on industry. Buying up industries later on in the game will be our main prioritization. But first, we will have to build up a clothing industry in Dublin. That is going to take some time, because we could build the clothing industry early if we wanted. We could delete this industry and then build up a clothing industry, but there isn't any demand yet. So before we build that kind of industry, we have to build up demand for it first, and then we have to have cities that will have reached 50,000 inhabitants before they demand fashionable clothing. They're still wearing clothes, they're just not wearing fashion yet. They're not really into the fashion before they grow bigger. Can have a quick look at the personnel. Just repeat that. Important to have them on maximum efficiency, I think. But I see for some people they do it differently. There's this other guy, the brilliant Adakin, on the internet who inspired me a lot, and he do it more like this, a little bit more on recruitment and training. But any particular choice that you like, it might go along with the tech and such, and one can see how things might be a little bit different as you evolve in the game. One thing that I want to point out, that here, to make it absolutely as cheap as possible, I've included all this that I've sort of referred to as industrial resources, in contrast to these common resources. With the common resources, the wheat, the corn, lumber, sugar, and also fruit and vegetables and salt, and some more. They are common resources. They're not used by industry particularly. So some are used by industry as well, but they are mostly going into feeding the cities directly, and everybody needs this directly. But wool, for example, here is only needed by the weaveries, and livestock is only needed by meat industry. So there really isn't any particular point in moving this, in having this on sort of the main line. They could have little special dedicated lines like this. But here I have common resource that is placed outside the net and is sort of moved here into Waterford, into the factory. And then if I had a warehouse, it could be further on moved into the main line. But then often it is practical. Say, with here, I want to have a hotel here later on, because I would like the passengers to be able to skip the tour down to Belfast if they don't want to go to Belfast. And also with this, it isn't that much. It isn't a particular problem having this on there. Might be a little bit if they take these resources and go all the way around and then be filled on the way. But well, it is a choice later on. When I grow this into 4 lanes, I often remove them, and we will have a look at that later. We can remove these resources at a later point and have them go directly instead of being on the main line. Wanted to show something about the lines and how to make them. See, I made all these 5 different lines that are all going around on the same circular path. I could have made it just 1 line and put 5 trains on it, but then this is much faster when it comes to deploying. can see how now that all the trains are deploying simultaneously because they are deploying at several different places, which sort of makes a difference in the beginning. And then I also wanted them all to start in the connection bonuses. But say now how to do this, how to make 5 more or less equal lines. So if I take this number 5 now and then go in here and then delete it. And then how did I make this? I take, say, the number 3, and then I go in here, and then I copy that one. First thing I do is then to change the name, like this. And then, now I first made something that is working. To do this over and over again, select these stations and such, in the end it's very easy to miss one, and that won't be a dumb thing. But now I made it, but I don't want to start in Galway. I wanted to start down here in Clark. So then I just take the bottom most and move it up to the top. And then I just keep going like this until I reach the station that I want. Putting the bottom one on the top all the way, and now we see. Now we moved over there. Oh, little bit of mistake. Have to watch these arrows so that now it's good. Now it's a proper one. And then I just copied it and made a little bit of a change. And now it's much more certain that it is correct because the first one was correct, and then the copy would also be correct. And so now, just 1 month into the game, not so much have changed since last, but we've been able now with the connection bonuses to complete this double track going back and forth, which makes for much neater deliveries when we only have one way. Some of these resources might take a long time to reach, but now they can go back and forth. They go in each direction. And this is very well good. And to be able now to look at the map, we didn't have much money in the beginning, but there was some nice connection bonuses, and we took up all the loans that we could manage to get our hands on, try to maximize this as much as possible. There are some interest rates, but the interest rates are much lower than what you can make from the money. One thing there to notice now is that one perhaps should go around and have a look, particularly at these most crucial cities. See, with Dublin, Galway, they are sort of close together, but the path around here, even with Clark Hotel down here, I built that. Yes, I built the Clark Hotel. You can see it goes with Silgo. It goes Sligo. It goes through the Clark Hotel, but to Galway, the Galway path is just this over here to Clark, up to Sligo, Galway. This is more than twice the air distance, so no passengers will go here. You would have to build a second circle inside, and often we will do that to have a sort of an outer circle and then an inner circle to add upon transport capacity, but also to take care of some of these passengers routes. It's not only important to check this flow of goods that make the cities grow, but here is where you make your money, making sure that every city is connected to other cities for express goods, and that would only happen if the path to them is not very long compared to the air distance. Another little thing that I wanted to point out, say with this curve here, this seems very steep, and I think it is. It's a little dumb that one cannot really see the degrees and get up any characteristics get up all these characteristics for the train. But for the line and such, I have the elevation profile, but no, I cannot really see how many degrees and if there would be a problem here. But looking now how one makes tracks, if I make something that is sort of a little bit similar over here, make something really crazy like this would be a very difficult path for a train. It's important that the trains doesn't fall off the tracks. So if the curvation is very high, like this, if the train now travels more than 46 kilometers an hour, they might fall off the track, and they will not do that. There are not no bad things happening in a railway empire. But now is this bad? Should I do this another way? Can I do this? Well, that depends on the locomotives. And if we see now our locomotives, we have some little bit nice locomotives, but we're early in the game. The Iron Duke, that's more than we had 49 or something, but and it have a maximum of 60. Doesn't mean that it's traveling 60 all the time. It has very low tractive power, so it doesn't take much for it to be deaccelerating, and then it will take a long time to accelerate again. Tractive power is much like acceleration, and it's very important to be able to accelerate because the speed. Sometimes they have to stop to refuel, or sometimes they stop at stations or there are little inclines or so, and then they need the tractive power often more than the speed. And then with this, the Jenny Lind that we are absolutely using the most, it doesn't travel more than 48 kilometers an hour. Never. It will never reach higher than. So this path, actually, this crazy path here is okay. And the earlier in the game, the more of these hard curves can you have, because the trains are so slow. But in the later game, when you reach this super fantastic, say with the Flying Scotsman, for example, can reach 170, more than 170 kilometers an hour. That's then you would have to think about this, because or else it would have to slow down a lot to be able to take the curves. Another little thing to point out with locomotives and such, don't necessarily always go for the most expensive one. The express trains are often very expensive, but they are only good for these super dedicated express lines, and only if you have enough passengers. Mixed trains are often the best choice to just use on the main lines, but for little, and then this freight train, this is the best freight train. Always notice that if you have some lines that are where that is getting more and more use, where line use is more and more heavy, one can upgrade to this. But start often with the cheapest of the freight trains. That is a nice place to start, and to see that it has low maintenance requirement, pretty low consumption, and low price. This is very important. To not necessarily go for the most fancy solutions. Go for the ones that make you the most money, that gives the highest difference between what the income and the expenses. And then 15 months into the game, we've been able to complete a lot of our projects. Not quite made for the innermost circle yet. We will complete that a little bit later. But we made for these extra resource lines. Money comes in a little bit slow on this map. There are so few connections between the cities, and they have to grow a bit. So, but to make these little lines here, we have the Higgins Milky route going over here, now going through Owen, and there will be a warehouse here for milk. So that milk can also be put up on this auxiliary line. This is a mixed line going from Sligo and over to Belfast on sort of the outer rim here, and picking up these resources in the middle, and also being delivered milk onto the sugar resource here at Owen. But milk is also traveling directly to Sligo, which makes for this line, which would otherwise there would be too little traffic here. There is only one train, but I turned it up to the best freight train, prioritized it a little bit. But there is so little milk production in the beginning that 1.6 per week, and then that would be too little for it to do. So I tried to make for some extra to do, to avoid to have it standing there with a yellow warning triangle telling me that it's idle, and idle hands are not good, and idle trains might be even worse. We can have a quick look now, say at the flow of goods, see how that is going. Kind of easy here now. It's a very good level for practicing this, and just to be able to follow the flow of goods. So say with milk, since we were discussing that, going like this, kind of nicely, being delivered in several different directions, but also always choosing the shortest one. One thing to point out here would be that we don't have access to the immigration offices, my favorite building. But the libraries are also nice, a little bit more expensive, and perhaps not so good in a city that is already growing, but very nice to have in a city that might be shrinking. That's the best to use the library to avoid shrinking if something bad is happening. But also if they are just a little bit growing and such, they might be growing faster. They will have these double arrows if the fulfillment of demand is more than 80, and single arrows up if they are more than 60. And then 40 to 60, that will be sort of the breaking point. But below 40, that is ranking, that is super bad. And below 20, that is just vanishing away.
I just spoke to the Irish government. They are so excited about your accomplishments that they want to erect a statue of you in Dublin. Congratulations!
Wow, even a statue. Well, this went sort of, well, it was a sort of an easy level. But then again, modified by difficulties is lower than usual. But we made it as chief executive, and we haven't really completed all of our tasks yet, even. So we might actually reach almost 700,000, which is really good. And we only played for 2.3 years and had a lot of time left. So let's see how we did this. I can look at the mission objectives first. I don't think we have really done that, but it's a pretty straightforward things. We just have to expand our network, transporting more and more passengers, connecting more and more cities, growing the cities to becoming bigger, and delivering this clothing and such. But in the end, to own a total of 20 cities and businesses, and perhaps even, well, this growing it into Ireland into 500,000, that is coming on nicely if you just have a good, nice circle with everything connected to it. But buying up industries and such, that requires some sort of a plan. And there are some tricks in how to make this a little cheaper. But first, let's look at the solutions that we added upon since last. We now have 2 circles. One circle with this tentacle arm going up and down. There will be this 4 gridiron that ensures that 2 lines are coming down and 2 lines are going up. No need for it here because they're already separated, and then they go in each direction here like this. And then will be this one going up here to Sligo, Cork, Waterford, Dublin, skipping Belfast. And by skipping Belfast, we can now see that it's becoming more direct to Galway. And so now all cities are connected passenger-wise. There's one thing to connect them freight-wise, and there is another thing to connect them passenger-wise. That's why there are 2 different places where one can look at them both. The flow of goods and such, one can also have a look at the flow of goods through here and see the percentage, for example, of how many are taking the trains and how many are using other means of travel. They will prefer to use the train, everybody, because that is faster. But if there aren't enough trains, then these percentages will drop a bit. Looking at the budget, see how we were able to grow. It's not super fast exponentially growing because we had to stop connecting new cities at some point. So then it comes on a little sluggish, but things are moving in the right direction at least. When it comes to buying up these industries and building up here, it is often not so super expensive to buy a new industry if there are these empty slots. One can buy a new industry, but to buy these existing industries, they can be super expensive. So then a trick here would then be to, if I wanted to buy that, and if I really didn't need all of the goods, say with perhaps have a different example. What do we have a lot of? A lot of meat. Might have 1 too many meat factories. Yeah, okay. Take the one in Sligo. Going in here, and then we can chalk the city by turning off delivery capabilities. I think I chose the wrong city. Be a little bit careful about this. Which one of the one? Sligo. No meat from Sligo. If I do this with all of the trains going through there, just keeping the same route but just not picking up the meat, then it will choke. Then this storage will become full, and then it will not run anymore. The running gray gears, the wheels there, they will stop spinning, and profit will fall down. Now it seems like I'm already owning this, but anyway, that will keep on dropping. The other thing is to starve it, and now I sort of separated this. I took that station used to be part of the main line, but now I took it out because it slows down the main line a bit, and if I can afford it, it might be easier to do it like this. But now if I were to take the train here and then go and delete that, there wouldn't be any resources, any livestock coming in to be made into meat in Sligo's, and then it will starve, and then it will be dropping in production, then it will become cheaper from that way. Can I have a quick look at the flow of goods now made for these two auxiliary mixed lines here, one Cork Galway line, as well as the Sligo Belfast line that sort of adds upon one inner and one outer to collect extra resources. And then flow of goods here is nice. It's no problem with these extra lines here, as long as there isn't any demand in the middle. If there had been a city here now, then there would be a problem where this corn from the outer rim is supplying the one in the inner system, and then the inner system corn is supplying the outer rim, and that will make for a mess. But as long as it's just this little resource line with these cities that are already connected to the main system, there's no problem. You can just keep on connecting as much resources as one likes. Try still when I'm connecting resources, not all the time. This one I just had to have a dedicated freight line, and then been waiting for a long time. I don't like them waiting. I don't like idle trains. But here with this, try to make it into a mixed line. See here now, that is being pretty full up, a little bit of everything, and that makes for good profits like that. Further expansion, then we could build something upon it. We could build an extra station down here in Dublin, say, and for example, and then we could do it like this, and then just connect it to this. I have to turn this around then, but then to have an extra connection and bring it up here, or perhaps even build a little hotel-only depot here, and then connect all the cities in some sort of a tentacle system here. But I stopped expanding the rail system because I had just to build the rail system fast and pretty good. This is pretty good, but very far from perfect. But then I had to focus on buying industries and such, and they cost at least $500,000 a pick. So that's a little bit expensive, and one has to save for that. You can always look at industry. Now there is a special emphasis on industry on this level, but always look here now. Why are furniture not running? Okay, have a look at that. Furniture, they need plank, so it must be too little plank. There are supply lines here, but there is too little, and then Cork is using up so much plank so fast, so that it runs out all the time. Even though both Waterford and Sligo are trying to supply it, but there are other cities on the way that eat up the planks before they can reach Cork. Then we can have a special delivery, making sure that Cork gets its planks to run its factory. But it might also be better to just go and upgrade this industry. And then when I own this, it's not super fantastically expensive, but still $500,000, 1.3 million. It's really expensive with this upgrade. And the only way to make upgrading industry profitable is that we create all the passengers and then make sure that we make extra lines afterwards that can pick up the passengers, so that all the nice passengers that we are making are not just escaping by some other means. It seems that everybody is still going by train, but soon if I were to grow these cities more, then there would be too little trains, and then if one grow the city, one have to add more trains later on. Looking at the lines just quickly, we can see that we have a lot of express trains here, express lines. They are mixed trains, but all of these are now, very many of them, even with goods included and such, have a good enough tractive power, even for this early game, to have express bonus. And that's one reason for me to be very reluctant about going for this. If I go for the Le Continent, all these express bonuses that I have on the Rhine will disappear, because people will realize there is a faster way of traveling. The Iron Duke, it's not so much faster actually, so and the lines are good, but the Iron Duke, the fact that this is faster makes for the Rhine to have a harder time achieving the express bonuses. Well, I guess that pretty much sums it up. One can feel free to like and subscribe and leave some comments if there are something that is unclear or you have something that you wonder about. And then I hope to see you next time, and goodbye. Take care.